So I made a video last week about anime, about how it's not only just some of the most remarkable storytelling that there is, but also that it lines up with core values for conservatives and like-minded people for the most part. There are a few uber cases. I mean, there is some definitely some strange anime out there, but the one but a lot of it does match up to a lot of good solid value, and they are some of the best storytelling that I have ever seen. I mean, you look at shows that are made now in America and in Europe, basically West culture. It's all DEI, LGBTQAIP plus, negative, positive sign, whatever you want to call it, gender swap, all this stuff. It's just pushing an agenda, pushing racism, pushing all this stuff that you don't want to consume or is just you're just tired of. But anime is different. Anime is pushing these just beautiful stories for the most part. Like I said, there are weird ones out there, but that's not what I want to talk about right now. What I want to talk about right now is, in my opinion, which is the best opinion on this, the number one best ever anime I have ever seen. It hits every single mark. If you don't like anime, if you've never seen anime, this show you need to watch anyway. You will fall in love with this show. This show is massively just a masterpiece. It is just 2 seasons long. It is absolutely insane. There are 24 episodes in total, and I'm begging them to come out with a season 3 because the manga goes further than the show does, like always. But it is just absolutely perfect. It's a great story. The arc in it is so amazing. It hits on PTSD. It hits on mental issues, but it also hits on revenge and falling from grace and overcoming and becoming a true warrior, a true man in this society. And this anime, it is called Vinland Saga. It is a Viking anime made in Japan, which sounds kind of goofy, but they actually do have a lot of anime based on different things in different places. So if you don't know anime, then it may sound funny, but it's not really uncommon. The cool thing about this, though, is that a lot of the characters in here are based on real people. For instance, the main protagonist, Thorfinn, was actually a Viking back in the Viking days, and then you have Leif Erikson, who was also a Viking. You have Bjorn. You have oh man, I'm losing it. You have the King Canute, which in season 1 he's still a prince. Season 2 he's a king. He's based on a real Viking king. I think it was actually called Canute the Great, or King Canute the Great. You have Thorkel the Tall, based on a real person. Like I said, they really put these people in real people in this show. Now, the exploits of these people aren't really like the show isn't based on like their true exploits of these people to a point. Like Leif Erikson in the show, he is a Viking, well, an Icelander who is a an explorer, just like in real life. Leif Erikson was an explorer. Thorfinn, the protagonist, in real life was an explorer as well. In the show, he at the end becomes one. So I'm going to do my best not to do spoilers, So in like the first part of this video, I'm going to do like a general of the show, and then I will get into some spoilers later on, and I'll kind of give a little bit of a spoiler warning prior to that, just because I can't talk about the show without some spoilers. I can't talk about season 2 really at all without spoilers. So the main so the show is about Thorfinn. Thorfinn is he's a young kid at the beginning of the show. He's a little kid, and he is growing up in Iceland with his dad, Thors. Thors was a former Viking, and he leaves at the very beginning of the show. It shows Thors leaving the Vikings, running away, faking his death, and grabbing his family and moving to Iceland to escape all the war, all the killing. He's had enough killing in his life. He wants to stop killing. He wants to stop. He wants to be with his family. So he does that, and then the show picks up with Thorfinn being a little kid, and the Viking army comes to Iceland because they got word that Thors was there. And this is like 10 or so years later when Thorfinn is a kid. So the army comes there because they find out that Thors is still there. And the leader of the army is one of Thor's old companions, comrades. And so he says, hey, we need you. And you're still bound by Viking law that you ran away, so we could kill you if you don't come with us. And so they're going to go to do this thing, which I can't really talk about much because it'd be a spoiler. So anyway, he goes. Thors says, "Okay, I'll go with you. Just don't harm anybody." And Thorfinn sneaks onto their boat when they go. They are intercepted by a Viking gang, if you want to call it pirates. Basically, they're just out there, they're kind of like mercenaries. This group that Thors encounters on his way to get to the Viking army. They're encountered by a group of Viking mercenaries that basically they go around and just steal shit and kill people, and then the Vikings pay them off to do this stuff. It's led by a guy named Askeladd. Askeladd is made to be the antagonist of this show, and it's written so well because not only is he the antagonist, but he's also like the second protagonist under Thorfinn. It's wild the way that they made the show. He is a phenomenal character, and he's written so freaking well. His arc is genius. Him and Thorfinn's arc together is amazing. Thorfinn's arc is amazing, and Askeladd's arc is amazing. There's 3 different arcs. They all kind of go together, and they all complement each other. It's amazing. But anyway, so Askeladd, his gang intercepts Thors, which Thorfinn snuck onto the ship, and they start to fight. And Thors pretty much obliterates Askeladd's entire group without killing any of them. And then he says, "Hey, who's your leader?" And Askeladd pops up, says, "I am." And he says, "I will challenge you. And if I win, then you just leave us alone. If you win, you win. Then we'll go with you, or you can kill us all, or whatever the case may be." So they do that. And that's when Thorfinn pops out and says, and his dad sees him, was like, "What the heck are you doing on my ship?" That's when Thors figures out that Thorfinn's there. And Thors gives Thorfinn his daggers and says, "You do not kill people, you use these to protect yourself, but don't go out and kill people. You just use these to protect yourself. He's trying to teach Thorfinn how to be a true warrior from the very beginning. So after this battle is over, I won't get into the spoilers, but well, there is one spoiler. So this is your spoiler warning for this part: is Askeladd kills Thors. That this is like the beginning of the entire story of Thorfinn, of how Thorfinn and Askeladd do their thing together. Askeladd kills Thor in front of Thorfinn. Enraged, Thorfinn follows Askeladd, sneaks on Askeladd's ship after this duel, and tries to kill Askeladd, and Askeladd, of course, defends him off. Throughout his childhood, Thorfinn follows Askeladd and his group, trying every single which way to kill Askeladd. His entire being is revenge for his dad. And throughout his entire childhood and teenage years, it shows Thorfinn going from a kid, a just a weak, know nothing kid, to fighting while trying to kill Askeladd, fighting for his life because he's going with Askeladd's group to all these different villages when they're doing their raids. So he ends up fighting with Askeladd's group in hopes of getting strong enough to kill Askeladd. And every single time one of these raids is over, he challenges Askeladd to a duel, and Askeladd either rejects him or accepts the duel and then immediately wins because Thorfinn is fighting out of pure rage, so he can't think whenever he's fighting Askeladd. Where on the battlefield itself, Thorfinn is learning how to be a killer and doing nothing but killing. And he is very tactical in the way he does this with his daggers. But whenever he faces off against Askeladd, he completely just goes rage mode and cannot even think of anything other than kill Askeladd. So Askeladd wins because he tells Thorfinn every time, "You're not thinking. You got to think. You can't just come at me with rage." So over the years of Thorfinn following Askeladd, he becomes like the main part of Askeladd's group, where he does all the scouting, he does the main killing. He's become this machine of death. He is completely hollow. He's a husk of a person. All he knows is kill, kill, kill. And the entire time it's for the end goal of getting revenge for his father and killing Askeladd. But what he fails to realize, and this is just so beautiful how they wrote this, what he fails to realize is this whole time Askeladd is teaching him. This whole time Askeladd is being the father figure to Thorfinn. It is incredible. And then you see Askeladd's backstory and his arc, and it is just phenomenal. And then now I'm going to get into a couple of pretty heavy spoilers. So this is your warning. If you don't want these heavy spoils, then go ahead and just cut off now, because I can't talk about any more unless I get to this. And I want to talk about season 2. So to get into season 2, there is a major spoiler that you have to go through. So this is your warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. All right. At the end of season 1, all this stuff wraps up to Askeladd's death by the hands of King Canute, not by Thorfinn. Thorfinn loses his chance to kill Askeladd. And whenever Askeladd dies, Thorfinn realizes that not only was he his true enemy, he was also the only father figure he had. So when Askeladd dies, his rage, his kill streak, everything about him dies with Askeladd. He becomes a true husk of a person. And in season 2, we start out with him being a young adult. So a few years passed between the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2. He is now a young adult. He is a shell of a person. He is a void. And he's also become a slave to a farmer, which is kind of symbiotic, where he's a slave to his rage in season 1. He's a husk of a person and a literal slave in season 2. So in season 2, there's not as much fighting. There is some, but there's not as much fighting. The goal of season 2 is to capture Thorfinn's dealings with being a shell of a person, a husk, and getting from this void, going through and realizing his PTSD and coming out the other side of that into what the show is truly about, which is becoming this true warrior. And he beats a friend. Another dude becomes a slave and begins to work with Thorfinn. So it's them two doing this work together, and they sleep in this barn together. And through this, the friend realizes that at night Thorfinn has night terrors. He screams and cries and stuff all night long. And in one episode particularly is the most beautiful showing of PTSD I've ever seen in my life. It is Thorfinn's dream. He is in Valhalla or hell or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like a mixture of hell and Valhalla, where he sees Askeladd on this pedestal. And down below is all the people that Thorfinn has known and has killed and has been around that are dead, all fighting each other. This is kind of the Vikings' traditional Valhalla, where you fight all day, drink all night, party, blah, blah, blah. So during this dream sequence, Askeladd is trying to tell Thorfinn that you don't belong here yet. You need to get above this, or it will drag you down and bring you here. So all the people start realizing that Thorfinn's there, and they start trying to grab him and bring him down to them. Like they're trying to bring him down, keep him down. And this whole episode shows him climbing out of this darkness, out of this battleground, this constant death and spiral. And reaching the top, he comes out and starts to heal himself from the outside or from the inside. And this is whenever he starts to realize the true warrior is the one who can protect himself and his loved ones without killing his enemy. And also, he says that in order to make up for all the death I've created, I need to save more people than I have killed. And the most famous line in this series, I believe, is whenever he is trying to talk to King Canute near the end of the season 2. And in order to get to King Canute, he challenges a guy, I will take 100 punches from you without ever firing back. And afterwards, this guy says, how can you do this? And he says, I have no enemies. I believe that's how it went. It could be a little bit different. I could be thinking about it wrong. It's been a little bit since I've seen that episode. But I have no enemies is probably the most famous line in this entire series, spoken by a young adult Thorfinn. It was either King Canute or the dude that gave him 100 punches. So anyway, this is just, it's a beautiful show. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If you have seen it, let me know what you think. I can't speak highly enough of this show. The show is the best masterful form of entertainment I have ever seen in my life. It hits every single mark that there is. It's just fantastic.